For the upcoming 2024 season, the Detroit Lions are expected to do many things, but these predictions that I'm about to unveil today are perhaps some of the most shocking that some people are thinking they might be able to do. Stay tuned, everybody. It's about to be astonishing.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions fans. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So here's the thing, folks. Obviously, as we know, training camp is literally right around the corner. And I can tell you this right now, there is almost nobody else in the world that is more excited for us to get to training camp. So that way we can actually start talking about real news. But until then, we still have to keep doing this, which is coming up with content for you guys that is not necessarily news related, but is related to the Lions. So I thought to myself today, okay, let's think of something that is a little bit bold. Let's think of something that's a little bit kind of like stretching maybe the parameters, maybe the fabric of what might be considered reality for some. I know for me this is not necessarily doing that, but for some it might be. Because today we're going to be talking about specific predictions for the Detroit Lions for the upcoming 2024 season, in which I call them shocking, or astonishing might be another word, because for some people these might be considered a bit on the farther realms of what might be considered reality or based in reality. But for me, I think these actually have a decent shot of actually coming true. So I said, okay, let's make an episode where we talk about some of the more shocking, some of the more kind of outlandish kind of predictions for what we could expect from the Detroit Lions in the upcoming 2024 season. Now, I know some people are probably going to ask, well, David, are you going to talk about what your win prediction is? Are you going to talk about what we can expect for the upcoming season as far as wins and losses? No, I'm not going to talk about that in this episode. That's one that I've got That's one that I've got stowed away for a little bit further on down the road. The reason why I'm saying that is because I, want to see how training camp folds out before I start talking about that. Plus, on top of that, I also want to see how we're doing in terms of relations to injuries, what players are going to be considered the starters, so on and so forth. Once I have a better grasp of what that information looks like, especially for certain positions, then I'll start talking about what I expect the Lions' total win-loss category is going to be. I don't expect it to change much, but I would much rather be knowing of all the information possible before I push out that content. But let's take a look at what I expect are going to be some of the more, outlandish, some of the more bold, shocking predictions for the Lions in the upcoming 2024 season. What do we got here? So I put these all down on my phone here because last night I didn't want to write it down, so I just typed it into my phone. Kind of a little lazy on my part, but so be it. The first thing I've got here is that I believe that the Detroit Lions are going to be the first team in NFL history that are going to have two 1,000-yard rushers and 2,000 receivers. I know I've said this before, but I 100% believe it to be the case. I truly 100% do. And the reason why I'm saying that is because last year the Detroit Lions almost already did it. Think about it. There has been no team in NFL history that has ever had two 1,000-yard rushers and two 1,000-yard receivers on the same offense in NFL history. But the Detroit Lions literally came that damn close last year to actually doing it. They were that close to being able to fulfill that never once achieved status in the entirety of the NFL. Because think about it, folks. Last year, freaking Jahmyr Gibbs was short by about 45 yards or something from getting, not 45, I think it was closer to 90 yards short of getting to freaking 1,000 yards. And if you think about it, for the first 6, 7, 8 games, the Lions barely used him. He was used more of kind of like in situational plays, maybe on third down and other things. He wasn't used primarily as a full-time back. That was not until more around mid-season or later into the campaign in 2023. That's not going to be the case here in 2024. So that already, I expect, is going to be vastly different. So I already expect the Lions are going to have two 1,000-yard rushers. David Montgomery and, Jahmyr Gibbs, they almost did it last year. I expect they're definitely going to do it this year. But when it comes to the two 1,000-yard receivers, there's quite a couple of options that the Lions could do to get that. Obviously, one of them is going to be Amon-Ra St. Brown. Amon-Ra St. Brown the last 2 years has been a 1,000-yard receiver for the Detroit Lions. I don't expect that to change in 2024. But in 2024, the Lions could add to that group Sam Laporta, because Sam Laporta came very close as a rookie and tight end for the freaking Lions. I think he was like maybe 100-something yards short of getting to that last year because he was on the higher end of 800-something. And then, on top of that, Jamo's going to get his first chance to become the wide receiver number 2. And I've said this multiple times already, I fully expect that Jameson Williams is going to have a breakout year. Whether that results in 1,000 yards or not, I don't know. But I fully expect that now that he's going to be getting a full-time opportunity to become a starting wide receiver, he should have a chance to do that. Pardon me, I was tripping over my tongue there for a minute with the word. But I look at this Detroit Lions offense and it's like, dude, it's been one of the most productive offenses over the last 2 years. Everybody's coming back for yet another season. Jared Goff is as sharp as he's ever been. Amon-Ra St. Brown is literally right now in his prime. Both of them just got paid. I fully expect that this Lions offense is going to do something that has never been done before, and this is the one area that I think they're really going to do. 2 1,000-yard receivers and 2 1,000-yard rushers. I fully expect it to happen. So, that is prediction number 1. Prediction number 2. Now, this one is definitely a little bit shocking because for us Lions fans, especially those who have been around for a while, you already know exactly what I'm about to say here. I am predicting that Jared Goff is going to break Matthew Stafford's, stat line from 2009 when he put up over 5,000 yards in passing yards and over 40 passing touchdowns. Now, some people are going to be like, whoa, David, that's a little bit on the crazy side, don't you think? Don't you think that's a little too far out there? Honestly, I don't think so. Let's go back to last year, shall we? Jared Goff threw 4,575 yards, folks. That's not that far removed from where freaking Matthew Stafford was in 2009. Stafford only had a little over 5,000 yards. So Jared Goff, literally, if he'd had 2 or 3 more games where he'd have probably added on maybe another extra 100 yards or so, maybe 200, he'd have gotten there. So it's not that far-fetched for me to say, hey, if Jared Goff literally has the kind of year that a lot of people are expecting him to have or to continue to have that he's been having the last, 2 years, I don't think it's that far-fetched for Jared Goff to get to that 5,000-yard total because he was literally only 400 yards short of it last year. And again, Ben Johnson is coming back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams. I just look at what the weapons that the Lions have. It's not that far-fetched for me. Now, some people are going to be like, well, David, then how do you explain the whole thing with the touchdowns? Jared Goff only had 30 touchdown passes last year. Matthew Stafford in 2009 had 41. Okay, so Jared Goff has to come up with 12 more passing touchdowns. Again, that's not that far out of the realm of possibility. Let's understand something here. If you go to Jared Goff's splits last year, Jared Goff on average played in domes. I think it was about I think it was like 11 games last year he played in domes. In those 11 games last year that he played in domes, Jared Goff averaged about 277 yards a game. He averaged about 2 touchdowns a game. He had 24 completions on average and 34 attempts on average, and he threw about 0.5 interceptions. So that's about less than an interception a game. So when you add all that up and you start taking a look at the numbers, it's not that very far out of the realm of possibility because those are just averages. That's not to, say when Jared Goff goes off in certain games. Because here's the funny thing. Those averages that I just talked about, take a look at what those averages look like in comparison to Jared Goff's best game last year against the Denver Broncos. Jared Goff threw 24 completions, 34 attempts for 70.6 completion percentage rate, 278 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions. That was against the Broncos on prime time. Now, I understand. I know the Broncos were not the greatest team last year, but my whole point is this. We all know that when Jared Goff is in a dome, he is a completely different kind of quarterback. There are a few quarterbacks that play better in a dome than Jared Goff. Well, think about it, folks. The Lions have 17 games this year. Everybody knows that because everybody plays 17 games. 14 of the Lions' games this year are in domes, whether home or away. The Lions only play 3 games outside this year, and that's Week 9 against the Packers, Week 16 against the Bears, and Week 17 against the 49ers. The rest of the games, the Lions are playing in domes. So think about it. Last year, Jared Goff was a wizard when he was playing in domes. And Jared Goff has only gotten better and better ever since he got here to the Detroit Lions. I fully expect the same thing to happen in 2024. And then, just to kind of add a little bit further gravy on top of this whole point I've added, or that I've put out there, pardon me, the Lions last year only had 8 home games. The Lions this year get an extra home game because they have 9 this year. And again, not only is Jared Goff surgically deadly when he's in domes, he's even more surgically deadly when he's at home. So Jared Goff gets an extra home game this year, plus he's going to get an extra 3 games where he is inside of a dome. You're at it. When you take a look at all the stats and all the things that I'm putting together for my argument here, it is not that far out of the realm of possibility to say, yeah, Jared Goff could, in theory, break Matthew Stafford's marks of 2009 where he threw under 5,100 yards and 41 passing touchdowns. We've seen Jared Goff go off in games where he's thrown 4 or 5 passing touchdowns, where he's almost thrown 400 passing yards. I don't think it's that far out of the realm of possibility. If the Lions really need Jared Goff to go to town, he will carve up people like Thanksgiving turkeys. It's not that far out of the realm of possibility. So that's prediction number 2. Prediction number 3. This one might not shock some people, but I know for others, it will shock them. Not only, this is my prediction, not only am I predicting that the Detroit Lions are going to re-win the NFC North, that they're going to, be the division champions, like this hat says, for a second year running, I predict that the Detroit Lions are going to be the number 1 seed this year. So the first part of that, not shocking for a lot of people. But the second part, being the number 1 seed, that's the shocker. Here's the reason why. Because for a lot of people, they're going to be like, well, David, there's a lot of other teams in the NFC that the Lions are going to have to contend with. There's the Cowboys, there's the Eagles, there's the Rams, there's the 49ers. They're going to be like, dude, you think that the Lions are just going to surpass all of them? Yeah, I do, because, well, let's take a look at it for what it was last year. The Lions were the number 2 seed last year. They should have been the number 1 seed last year. So for me, it's like, hey, you know what? I think that the Lions should have a very good shot to be the number 1 seed this year. Because think about it. If the Lions would have been given the victory against the Cowboys that they had earned last year and that Brad Allen and the NFL stole from them, the Lions would have been the number 1 seed. There's no doubt about that. It's already been proven. And it's like, okay, you take a look at the Lions' schedule this year, and you take a look at all the teams that they're going to be playing. There's only one playoff team from last year that they have not played within the last, 2 years, and that's the Texans. Every single other team that are playoff teams that they're facing this year, the Lions have played against. And every single one of them, save one that they've played against, they have beaten. They've beaten the Packers before. They've beaten the Bucs before. They should have beaten the Cowboys. But again, I know the NFL is going to say we lost. I don't think we lost. We just got cheated out of that victory. We've beaten the Rams. We haven't beaten the Bills, but we came very damn close on Thanksgiving in 2022. Like I said, we haven't played the Texans, and the 49ers, we should have beaten them, but we decided to take a slumber party in the second half. My whole point is this. The Lions have played against all of these teams, save the Texans, and I believe the Lions have a very, very good shot of being able to get that number 1 seed. Because when you take a look at all the other teams in the NFC that the Lions are going to have to contend for that number 1 spot, the Niners, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Eagles, all of those guys are playing multiple times against each other. So it's going to be a very, very, drawn out battle between all those teams to try and see who gets that number 1 spot. But I think the Lions, out of all of them, are in the best position because they have proven that they can go toe-to-toe with everybody, and they have proven that they can be in that number 1 seed in the past because they came very damn close to doing it last year. So that's my 3rd prediction. My 4th prediction is this. This one's definitely a bit on the shocking side. I am predicting that the Lions are not only going to lead the league in sacks this year, I also am predicting that I think the Lions are going to lead the league in turnovers this year on defense, or as they call it, takeaways. Here's why I'm saying this. You have to pay attention to how the Lions have gone about this offseason in improving their defense. The whole name of the game has been to get more aggressive. That is literally what the Lions have done this entire offseason with their defense, with whatever acquisitions that they've gotten. It's all about being more aggressive. You take a look at the acquisitions that they've put together on the defensive secondary. They traded for Carlton Davis, an aggressive move. They drafted 2 cornerbacks in the NFL draft back-to-back with their two top draft picks. Very aggressive in that mindset. The Lions are going about it this year about their defense being aggressive, coming after people, attacking offenses. Defense, in most cases, is a reactionary unit. The Lions are not looking at their defense as being a reactionary unit. They're looking at their defense as being a proactive unit. They're talking about their defense coming after offenses, not sitting back and waiting for what offenses are going to do. Because think about it. When you have a defense that has all of the weapons that they've added on the defensive secondary, they're looking to be a shutdown secondary. They are looking to find a way to shut down passing games, which they definitely should, because that has been one of the biggest areas that we have been exploited on in our defense in the past. But the other thing I'm looking at is that the Lions still have a lot of different options that they can go about improving the pass rushing game. Aleem McNeil's going to be fully healthy. When Aleem McNeil is on top of his game, he is a very good interior pass rusher as a defensive interior lineman. Obviously, we already know what Aiden Hutchinson can do. But then we have on the opposite side, we have guys like Matthew Betts. We have guys like James Houston. These are guys that have shown in different areas or in another league that they can be extremely productive. The question is, who is going to actually get the majority of the time on that opposite side of Hutch? Is it going to be Betts? Is it going to be potentially Davenport? Or is it going to be Houston? Again, my money is on Betts because he has had the most, most recent production out of all of them. Plus, he's the most healthy out of all of them. So that's my prediction. But whether or not that happens, I don't know. I just expect that the Lions, being an aggressive unit this year on defense, they're going to have a chance to lead both in sacks and also in takeaways on defense this year, because the name of the game for the Lions defense this year is to be aggressive, to attack. And when you do that, there's a good probability you're going to have a much higher likelihood of being leaders in those stats. But we'll see what happens. And then, my final prediction. This one is more towards the end of the season, off season for 2024, but here's my final shocking prediction. I do not think that the Lions are going to have to find new coordinators at the end of this year. Why am I saying that? The reason I'm saying that is because my expectation, along with a lot of other people's, is that the Lions are going to go to a Super Bowl this year. They're going to contend for a Super Bowl this year. What I am trying to say is that if the Lions do go to a Super Bowl, and if the Lions do win a Super Bowl, both very highly plausible this year, both very highly probable, I still expect that the Lions are not going to need to find new coordinators. I still expect that the Lions are going to retain both Ben Johnson and also Aaron Glenn. And here's the reason why. Both of those guys have had opportunities in the past, primarily Ben Johnson, to take jobs elsewhere. Aaron Glenn, not so much. He's been interviewed for jobs, but it's never been officially announced that he was actually offered a job to go somewhere else. Ben Johnson most certainly has. But when I take a look at what Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are doing for Dan Campbell, for the Detroit Lions, there is a sense of loyalty to this program. There is a sense of, hey, we're not just looking to be one-time Super Bowl winners. We are trying to build something not only long-term standing, but we're also trying to build something extremely special here in Detroit. Winning one Super Bowl, that's special. Don't get me wrong. But if you could win multiple Super Bowls, now you've entered into a realm of special that very few teams ever get a chance to do. So for me, it's like, listen, even if the Lions were to win one Super Bowl this year, I don't expect that our coordinators are going to go anywhere, because they're going to be like, hey, if we already won it this year, let's run it back next year. Let's make it 2 in a row. Let's do that. That's my last prediction. But anyway, folks, I know this was a bit of an interesting episode because, again, we haven't quite started the season yet. We haven't quite started training camp. But I was like, you know what? Let's have some fun today. Let's be a little bit bold. Let's be a little bit brave. Let's have some fun with this episode. So you guys let me know what you guys think of my predictions. You always do. I just ask you to be respectful. But with that being said, I'm going to end the episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. if by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, or you just subscribed and not had a chance to do so. Again, I highly encourage y'all to subscribe, but I also encourage y'all, please, make sure you hit that bell notification that's also right next to the subscription button, so that way you guys never ever miss any more content that I push out. I also want to encourage y'all, please, to share the content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, share it on Twitter, share it on Facebook, share it anywhere and everywhere you can with everybody and anybody that you can. The more we share it, the greater the channel has a reach, the greater the channel has a chance to grow, the greater the channel has an outreach to other people to potentially draw them in. And with that being said to everybody, I hope y'all are having a great day. I hope y'all have got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile, and I hope y'all enjoyed the content. God bless, and until the next time we meet, I'll see y'all in the next episode.